The drylands of Tanzania, where water, forage and pasture are found in different places in different seasons, but even then not for certain. Across these landscapes, Maasai, Barabeg and other mobile livestock keepers herd their animals to make strategic use of the scattered, variable resources. And they're not just feeding their families. Pastoralists and agro-pastoralists are responsible for 90% of Tanzania's livestock products and hundreds of thousands of jobs along the value chain. Yet despite this, government officers, donors and the public often see them as primitive, aimless wanderers and want them to settle down and fence in their animals. Mobile livestock keepers make dryland areas productive by moving in response to changing seasons and conditions. But they've been marginalised and this mobility is under threat, risking hunger for more than just the pastoralists. Can their livelihood systems be better understood in everybody's interest? That's the aim of Strengthening Voices, a joint project of IIED, the International Institute for Environment and Development, and Kimmage Development Studies Centre. Pastoral people are learning to argue their case more effectively, and non-pastoralists are being helped to understand it. The first 3-year phase is over, and it's time for evaluation. The project's based here in Arusha at the Tanzania Natural Resources Forum.
I am the coordinator of this particular project on the ground on behalf of Kimmage and IID. It's a point in time when we look back on what we said we will do, check what we are doing now and begin to think of the future.
So the evaluation team is arriving. Dr. Maria Mashingo and Dr. Michael Holderman.
Project did and what TPLF did.
They've got a difficult job evaluating a project where outcomes aren't easy to measure. But objectives have been clear from the start.
To invest in people, to provide training, to provide argument, science of pastoralists, dynamics of the pastoral system itself. They can then use their democratic and constitutional rights to argue their case. Because now they understand not only their rights, but also the dynamics of their own systems, why people move from one place to another.
And this film travels with the evaluation team, listening in on just some of the many meetings they'll have around the country with politicians, civil society and pastoralists themselves as they assess Phase 1. But they're starting here at TNRF, where the steering committee confirmed that the work is needed.
What might be useful now at this point, do you think that the problems facing pastoralists that the project has been following, do you think it is exaggerated?
There's a deeply ingrained negative attitude at all levels, not just the political level, policy makers, but even just normal ordinary citizens. Many of them believe this is an outdated way of life.
Even the president once said, we are not in favor of few people who are moving from one area to another.
Yet, who's eating meat in this country? It's not just pastoralists. Who's drinking milk? It's not just pastoralists. It's a concern of everybody.
These negative attitudes affect policy. So a core objective is for policy makers to appreciate the logic of pastoralism. The project runs a course for them at MSTCDC, and one graduate is Dr. Mashingo herself.
I did the training in the center we are going now. My training was in pastoralism, dynamics and policy options, where we met people from Uganda, Kenya, and we were doing training together, sharing experience. It has created networking.
The centre runs this international high-level course on behalf of the project, so the team want to hear about impact monitoring. Does it change attitudes?
Something good for this cause is the way you can see the outcome of the cause immediately after the cause. We give them a questionnaire to check their attitude. For instance, the question number 1 is, pastoral environments are heavily degraded. Or mobility destroy environment. Like, for instance, this one, pastoral environments are heavily degraded. Agree strongly, we are 10. At the end of the training, only 2 participants. So you can see the shift from the negative side to the positive side.
One thing that I've found interesting in this course has been the interaction between government people in the course and civil society people.
The civil societies and the government, we are together speaking on issues and policy and development issues on pastoralism and livestock sector.
It was almost us versus them, but ultimately it was probably the best thing that happened to both parties.
There was a point where they could understand each other, you see.
If there's anything I would really recommend to sustain is that interaction, that the courses should actually have always both representation.
Okay, no, that's important.
But the regional trainings held at MSTCDC are just the start of a cascade of training. The project doesn't work at grassroots level themselves. They train and strengthen partners like TAFCO, one of the civil society organisations sending delegates to project trainings, so that they can then train others in turn.
Do you think that the quality of training that TAFCO was giving to its member organizations has improved after taking the regional training course?
People were doing this advocacy on pastoralism, but you may not be quite so articulate as the person who has attended the training. So the people used to only talk on the economic aspect, that pastoralism contributes to national economy, to regional economy, to pastoralism themselves, and the rural life is general. But no, most of the people could not articulate it on a scientific part of it. Why do people from one place to the other? Why do people graze during the morning or during this time? So those are the aspects of the scientific aspects which empowers people to say about pastoralism.
People are marginalized, but they are struggling to bring changes so that they can get out of the marginalizations themselves.
The evaluators had a busy week in Arusha, and there's no weekend off.
So far this week we have been sitting in offices and we keep being handed more and more reports that somehow we're supposed to have time to read. But the real way to find out what's going on in a project or a program is to get out and see things in person.
I need to see the community and the process of training in Longido. A live training session.
So they're driving north to see training in action. Longido is dryland. 90% of the population depend on mobile livestock keeping, and the project has been welcomed. The Training of Trainers team are in action, identifying and organising what students already know and teaching new scientific, legal and economic aspects. Together, they're developing and sharing systematic arguments for pastoralism, for trainees to take back to their communities and organizations.
Represent kwenye mduara ambao ndani ya hilo kundi sasa kunaweza kukaa kuna.
This course includes local government extension workers and members of local communities. Beatrice is very skilled at giving other women confidence to speak up.
Kwamba lazima ukae kama mfugaji ufikirie tutafanyaje, mkakati upi mzuri ambao.
Nimeelewa kuwa wafugaji wakati wa masika ndio wanaongeza kundi la mifugo, kwa sababu wakati wa kiangazi tukiwa na ng'ombe nyingi ndio itatusaidia.
The groups come together for a plenary. They'll reinforce each other's knowledge and practice their own training skills for the future. A lot of the ideas are new, not just for the government workers in the group. Pastoralists themselves have not been taught any of this at school.
Tukasema kwamba malisho haya hupatikana kwa wingi na kwa ubora kutoka msimu mmoja hadi mwingine. Protein inapatikana kwa wingi kipindi hiki kuliko kipindi hiki. Tukiendelea kwa upande huu tunaangalia sasa athari.
Negative ideas they may have been taught about mobile livestock keeping are being challenged. So what do these future community trainers think about the course?
Yani, tulikuwa na ujuzi kwamba kuna ufugaji na tunajua jinsi ya kufuga. Lakini elimu ya kuiendeshea ufugaji ilikuwa hatuna.
Hivi kwa nini huyu mtu anaamua kuishi katika mazingira haya? Kwa nini anaona kufanya hivi? Na yeye anashindwa kujua kwamba huu ni mfumo wa maisha.
And they'll share their new self-advocacy skills with others in their communities.
Maybe someone from the government has come to pastoralist people. Then after they coming in order for the pastoralist to say what problems are they facing, but they can't express themselves. They, instead of talking, kutoa hoja, they cry.
I don't know each and everything, but now I get more knowledge.
Okay.
And experience.
It's important for women to attend this course because in our Maasai tribes, women are seen as useless people. They are not given kipaumbele. At least nowadays education is kumebadilika. Kwa hiyo unakuta mwanamke na mwanamume wote ni sawa.
We are not feared. We are not feared.
Have things really improved so much for women in Longido district?
I think it's true because even in the council, the Longido district council, there are many women and they are given chance even to be leaders in the communities.
Longido became a base to discuss very critical issues of pastoralist women. So women from Ngorongoro district, women from Simanjiro district, women from Monduli, women from Hanang district, they came here and were given time and space here to go through training, but also to do deeper reflection on concrete issues that are affecting them.
This project has been really like a backup for PwC and for women in Ngorongoro. Last year, I was told by Alice Morindad to select 12 women from the whole of Ngorongoro district to attend a training in Longido. And as a result of that training, we were able to change over 75 leaders in Ngorongoro district. So this is really the example how this training has given us courage to address land challenges and promote women's voices.
Longido has only had district status since 2007. The new council were really happy to work with the project.
Tunajua kwamba kumekuwa na mkakati uliotengenezwa kwa kusaidiana na mradi huu.
Watu wa IID kitu kikubwa walichokifanya kwetu kwanza ni kutujengea uwezo sisi. Kwa sababu unapofanya kazi bila kuwa na mwelekeo na mkakati, ule uanzaji wa wilaya unakosa maana sana.
Tumekuwa tukijifanyia tu kama tunavyofanya katika maeneo yetu siku zote. Lakini sasa inabidi tutambue kwamba sisi ni wilaya moja na ni lazima tukae pamoja ili tuweze kufanikisha maendeleo ya wilaya yetu. Na si tena kufanya labda wilaya hii kata hii inaweka mpango wake na kata nyingine inaweka ya kwake.
So the project trained council members in participatory planning. This new district would build its strategy on the needs and livelihoods of its people.
Kulikuwa na watu wanahoji wazee, kulikuwa na watu wanahoji vijana, na kuna watu ambao walikuwa wanahoji akina mama. Groups zote zile zilikuwa zinatoa priorities zao. Mfano, wazee walikuwa wanasema priority ya kwao ya kwanza ni malisho. Vijana walikuwa wanazungumza habari ya elimu. Akina mama walikuwa wanazungumza habari ya maji. Kwa hiyo nafikiri vyote vipo, lakini priority ya kwanza ilionekana kwa sababu mifugo bila maji haiwezi kwenda pamoja na binadamu halikadhalika.
Ikajulikana kwamba Wamasai tangu awali tulikuwa na maeneo yetu ya kufugia wakati wa masika na maeneo ya kufugia wakati wa ukame. Na tunayo maeneo ya kunywea maji. Kwa hiyo tukasema ni kwa jinsi gani tutaboresha yale maeneo yawe yanatambulika.
Lazima tuwe na land use plan, lakini katika land use plan lengo letu kubwa ilikuwa ni kuhakikisha malisho yanakuwa endelevu.
Kwamba tunayo land use yetu ya asili, sio ya kienyeji, ya asili. Ile sio ya kienyeji.
Baada ya kupata wilaya mpya, inakuwa na hofu ya kusema kwamba labda ardhi iko upande ya sheria yaani upande wa serikali tu, sisi hataongea kitu.
Pamoja na kwa sisi ni wilaya mpya na wafugaji, kina wao wamejua sheria zao, hata wameshajua namna ya kumiliki ardhi na wao. Lakini sio hilo tu, kwamba tushirikiane kwa maendeleo.
UCRT's Ujamaa Community Resource Trust, we have been collaborating with the project in terms of building the capacity of the local traditional leaders. The traditional leaders were invited based on the strategy plan to explain how the land use should be. Because when you talk about participation, if you work out of the traditional institution, then you left the community.
But by working with the traditional institutions, the project brought the community closer to their new local government, as well as building its capacity.
The strategic plan that we have now, it made a lot of people to participate. If it was not that training, then we wouldn't reach where we have reached now. And I think it has improved also the working standards of our technicians and other people. It was very, very vital.
Kwa sababu zamani mambo ya land use ilikuwa inafanywa na wanaume peke yao, kwa maana ya wao ndio wanaotambua mifugo kama ni mali yao. Lakini kwa sasa hivi wanaume wanaogopa, ndio maana wanatoka. Imekuwa shirikishi zaidi kuliko ilivyokuwa wakati ule,
kwa sababu ni 95% ndio wafugaji ambao tumekuja kuona kwamba kwa kweli sisi bila mifugo tuende mahali popote. Swala la mazingira pia tumeliona kwamba tuangalie mazingira yetu kwa sababu yanaharibika, na hili limetokea kitu ambacho tumezungumza pia kwamba lazima tujue au tuwe na kitengo cha maafa, kitengo cha kuangalia mabadiliko ya hali ya hewa.
Longido faces an uncertain future. Climate change might mean even less rain for these drylands. The team want to see the impact of the 2009 drought.
Nanangi ona bana bolengisho narengisho libangamia amena kona jijira naona jinda
This was 200 cattle
milking cows.
Milking cows.
Borabe no
narenga sabu joyo o karela ko na ningana na abolele abolele namrana be baby namara bana senna lankare to kullo
The drought hit this herd badly. Pastoralists must calculate resources and make difficult choices, and the family need their resilience.
Hakuna ng'ombe kuhama maana majani leo ni nyingi sana.
Drought didn't compromise project work in Longido. But in the second pilot district they worked in, things were more complicated. The team are leaving the drylands and heading south. Kilosa district is more fertile. Only 10% of the population are mobile livestock keepers, coexisting with farmers and crop production. And when drought came, it brought conflict over access to resources. Those who've been on the pastoralism course understand the need for livestock mobility.
There's a need to bridge the knowledge gap between the pastoralism and the farmers, and the leaders, in fact, to know the responsibility and needs. For example, if I say that they are advocating permanent settlement, but not nomadic way of life.
We don't take it pastoralism as a mode of production. It's just a simple thing. People put together some livestock, then life goes on. But if you go deep into the whole system as it is, it's quite different. Because of their mobility, some farmers or whatever or company comes in, they being given land when they're not around. When they come back to another season, they find there's somebody there. So, and because they used to live there, that's where the conflict comes in.
Pastoral civil society is fragile in Kilosa district. Twatwatwa village is home to the project's local partner, TANIPE, the Tanzania Network for Indigenous People. They called a meeting so members could speak to the evaluation team.
Kipindi cha masika mvua zikinyesha majani yanapatikana na maji yanapatikana. Kipindi cha kiangazi ikishafika tu migogoro nayo moja tu.
Inawalazimu wafugaji kuhamia sehemu ambayo maji yapo. Sababu wakati mwingine wenzetu wakulima hata katika vijiji ambavyo tunapakana navyo wanaweza wakafikia hatua ya kulima hata zile njia za kupitishia mifugo kupata maji. Kwa hiyo unakuta wanalima kando kando ya mito na kusababisha hata mifugo kukosa nafasi ya kupita kufuata maji.
Pastoralists have been evicted and their cattle impounded. The situation's getting polarized.
When the issue of eviction came in Kilosa, does not stop IID to proceed with their projects to train. IID, they should intervene in this issue, and pastoralists should be saved from what they have been facing now.
But the project has no such mandate. In fact, they postponed further trainings.
We would be seen to be siding with one group of people. When we went to the regional secretariat in Morogoro, the regional commissioner then, he wanted us to become part of the regional effort to mediate conflicts between pastoralists and farmers, ensuring that pastoralists are not marginalized, but also that they respect the livelihoods of farmers. So we shifted our work to strengthening TANIPE, which is our partner organization there, and their board of directors, community members.
Changie kidogo tu hapo. Katika kuanzia hili shirika tulipata shida sana namna kwa organize watu. Kwa hiyo kiangalia sana mwaka jana kama sikosei, ndio kidogo tukapata mfuto wa watu wengi kuelewa, tukaanza kuunda bodi na bado hatujaziundia zile kamati ndogo ndogo kwa sababu bado ndio tunaanza kuiendeleza shirika. Tuko katika harakati ya kuieneza yale yote ambaye shirika linahitaji. Kwa hiyo tunaendelea polepole kwa sababu mtoto anapozaliwa haisi akazaliwa siku hiyo akaanza.
We want to know if TANIPE is a strong enough organization to play an important role in the second phase of this project. And the next steps will be, if things go through and if funds are found from the donors, the next steps will be this conflict mediation effort.
The organization, the TANIPE, needed more capacity building, and I doubt if they can handle serious issues for the time being, the way we saw the setup itself. But they cannot be set aside if they want to participate.
The project can't work directly in the community. It needs a stronger pastoral civil society in Kilosa.
Our idea is to strengthen the capacities of others so that they're able to drive themselves. It is organizations like TAFGO and PINGOS who have mandate for advocacy work. We don't. We can provide the knowledge and the skills. We can train people, but we can't go and do the advocacy work in the villages. We can't do that. We wanted to interact with parliamentarians because these are the policy makers.
So to argue at parliamentary level, a complex web of civil society organizations came together.
Went to Dodoma, a big number went to Dodoma. And we sat for a day, I think it was a day, and we made a collective statement, a collective presentation. People from Panda, people from Nkasi, the exact victims came with their testimonies.
We argued for the case of pastoralist eviction in Kilosa with over 60 or 70 parliamentarians. We brought people from Kilosa to demonstrate the effects of eviction.
Some of them even came with bombshells.
And on the basis of that, I think parliamentarians took this to the party and also to the government.
And through the minister, Kombani, she announced that eviction process has stopped all over the country.
Building understanding at the heart of government is crucial. Dr. Mashingo herself played an early role.
A special letter of invitation went to the permanent secretary to invite the ministry one of the person to attend that course. And he gave me that chance. And we started sharing and dialoguing and working using the same concepts and seeing where we needed to bridge the gap and what kind of knowledge we can share. And when I came back, I just convinced other 2 people to go and other 2 people to go.
I remember just after the course, it was a few months before that our department was established. So the course was timely done, and we strengthened quite a lot our understanding about the pastoralist and what should actually be done at policy level, at the district level. And we were asked to give some inputs on the Grazing Land Act and Grazing Land and the Animal Feed Act before it was submitted further to higher authorities.
The new act is now in force. Has training kept up?
Maybe the cause requires to accommodate issues which are current with the legislation and policies.
I would like for the trainers to read some of the materials that the ministry is producing, because some of the things that they are referring actually have made some improvements.
And I think most of the laws now, they can support pastoralism, except that knowledge gap and skills which is existing between the pastoralist and the policymaker.
All the time they think the government...
So it goes both ways.
Yeah. We need to change change mindset. We need to understand each other.
And to take into consideration the contribution that these people have on the economy of our country. You know, the major part of the contribution comes from the pastoral sector in terms of meat supply in this country. So a special eye is needed, of course.
So there is some support within government. But the project aims need years of further work. Is pastoralism a priority for donors? Irish aid has been vital.
Pastoralism was not discussed adequately. So again, it increased the need to look differently at this issue of pastoralism.
Others are doing it from a sort of a human rights base, but this is a much more livelihoods and base of work, which it just makes it that much different from what others are doing.
So I think Alliance's project, this IAD project, the results should be shared very quickly because the government is moving forward. I know there are donors who would like to see this area being addressed in a more efficient way. So I think it is not a closed chapter, it is an opened chapter.
A positive note to end a packed 3 weeks of meetings. Back in Arusha, the evaluators debrief before writing their report. Has Phase 1 achieved the results described in the project terms of reference?
There are 3 results. One is about CSOs. The second result is about local government authorities. The third result is about senior policymakers at national level. And then there's cross-cutting issues.
CSOs and community trainers are now able to argue a logical case for pastoralism. At local government level, Longido's made it central to their strategic plan. And at national level, policymakers and politicians are better able to understand and support mobile livestock keeping. So what is the verdict?
It appears that the program actually exceeded its goals. Certainly in Longido, they even seem to exceed the original objectives, and in Kilosa...
We are happy with what we have done so far as a small team of people. But more problems, more droughts will happen and put a lot of stress to the dryland livelihoods. It is therefore very important for us to move fast.
With the uncertainty of climate change, understanding and explaining mobile livestock keeping has never been more important.
Kwa sababu kulikuwa na gap ya kile tunachokijua na kile tunachokifanya. Sasa hivi ile gap imepungua kwamba tumeelewa tunachokifanya.
Mambo mengi tuliyaona kwamba ni kutokana na kuto kujua kwa watu walioko juu yetu. Kwa hiyo mimi nilikuwa naomba yule mtu anayetunga sera apambanishwe na mfugaji wakae pamoja ili tunapotungiwa sera sisi wafugaji tuwe tunashauri, tuwe tunapata nafasi ya kushauri.
Pastoral communities or people within these drylands who were never part of these decision-making processes, their voices are low. The purpose of the project is to strengthen these voices. And the whole idea is not to pull them away from their own government and nation state and district council, but to make them members who have a voice, who have a say.
Yani stand unatoa hoja ili wakienda kule wanatutetea, kwa sababu wakija kule sio tuseme tu oi ni Mungu tu anajua. No, lazima tutoe hoja. So nimelearn sana hiyo kitu.
Ngoma